Footsteps pattered into the distance, indicating their quest to the kitchen, and you grinned to yourself. They were so sweet, so innocent, and you instantly understood what all the fuss was about. Why these types of houses still existed in the modern age. These Omegas were pure, undefiled by the hard and unforgiving outside world. And you could pamper and shelter and spoil them as you pleased, for as long as you pleased. Watch their big, blameless eyes sparkle as you revealed new things to them, unlocked facets of the world piece by piece. I get it now. I totally get it. It was no longer a wonder why alphas came from miles around and paid top dollar for them. It was like buying a mate right out of a time capsule, back from a time when things were simpler, optimistic, when manners were more distinguished. You adored Marco. It'd be impossible not to. He would make for a fun and agreeable mate, although you couldn't help but feel you'd never get any rest. Did you need it, though? You could rest when you're dead, right? He was, indeed, an Omega that would make your life a daily adventure. And then there was Armin. You felt quite comfortable in his presence, and you felt you could get lost for days in those glacier-like eyes of his. Not to mention, he had an aura of ingenuity about him, a developed acumen, and you relished the idea of discussing deep philosophical questions at greater length with him. Unfortunately, you hadn't had the chance to get to know poor Bertolt at all yet, which you intended to rectify at breakfast. He struck you as reserved, but from the way he spoke to Marco, you could instantly tell he had a more controversial personality underneath. A dry wit, things to say, and you had every intention of uncovering what those things were. Your stomach gurgled as you drew back the curtains. You hoped they would return soon. Meanwhile, the three Omegas were hard at work in the kitchen. Though Armin displayed his idea with a logical candy coating in front of Marco and Bertolt, his plan to make separate dishes for you was intended to give himself an edge on his competition. He wanted the opportunity to rise on his own merits. After last night, he knew an alpha's definition of sweet was different than his own, and therefore he had a higher chance of preparing something you would delight in. It appeared that Marco was going the simple route, opting to make you a nutritious smoothie. Armin noticed him already tossing berries into the mortar. Bertolt had the griddle out and was mixing up batter. He assumed it to be his tried-and-true signature fluffy pancake recipe. Armin, on the other hand, feeling clever, pulled out the coffee press. Only the beta house matron ever used it, or sometimes when they were hosting guest alphas. But it was much too pungent and acidic for any of the Omegas. Even the bitter aroma of the roasted coffee beans made Armin's nose wrinkle and sting. But he'd endure it for this beautiful alpha. His beautiful alpha, he mused. He put a drop of vanilla extract in it, just for an undertone of flavor, and added plain cream to it. He fought hard against his instinct to douse it in far too much sugar, then felt a nervous flutter in his stomach when he noticed Marco demonstrating a similar instinct, dropping more bitter fruits into his concoction: blueberries, blackberries, and yogurt. Bertolt was baking with reckless abandon, humming softly to himself. It was his favorite pastime. Armin knew he would have prepared a much fancier spread if time weren't a limiting factor. The taller male ended up making crepes with vanilla custard, which presented a flavor redundancy with his coffee, but Armin knew it was his own fault for leaving the vanilla out on the counter and giving Bertolt the idea. As for Armin, he decided on a hearty omelet with fried potatoes, something starchy with protein that would provide lots of energy. The hot beverage would surely gratify you too. The mid-October chill was just starting to set in, and this would be a refreshing way to warm your tummy. Just the thought of pleasing his future alpha had him much too excited, and he had definitely splattered yolk across the countertop and onto Krista's apron from how vigorously he was whisking. At last the Omegas arrived at your door once more, this time with a little golden cart full of food.
Goodness, is this all for me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They nodded in unison, and you set aside the book you had picked up to pass the time. Bertolt lifted a large wooden tray off the side of the cart and unfolded the legs before moving to place it on the bed in front of you. You don't have to get up, Alpha. Wow, you're all such gracious hosts! You sat up straight as the plates were laid before you one by one. I can't decide what I should try first. Well, you have your choice of a smoothie with berries and black cherries, hot syrupy French toast, blueberry lemon crepes with vanilla custard, and an omelet made fresh from the labor of our very own chicken, Bessie. You chuckled at Bertolt's choice of words. He made French toast and crepes? That's not fair. Armin sulked silently to himself. What's in the omelet? You asked. Oh, sausage, herbs, tomatoes, and a few regional cheeses I thought you might like. Ooh, so it's like a local specialty. You twirled a fork into your hand and moved to dig in. Yes, you were sold on trying his first. Take that, Bertolt. He tried to suppress the presumptuous thoughts, knowing the tables could turn at any moment. But at least for now he was happy he stood out to you. Delicious. Good job, Bessie, you asserted, earning a giggle from the Omegas. Oh, I almost forgot. Armin grabbed a small porcelain white mug off the cart. I made you coffee, too. How you do spoil me, little angel. You took the hot cup from him, brushing his hands in the process. It was so easy to coax a sheepish smile from these creatures. You honestly considered making it your new favorite hobby. What would you like to try next, Alpha? Marco asked. What do you want me to try? You winked flirtatiously. Well... He rubbed the back of his neck modestly and held up a glass. I'm not that great in the kitchen, if I'm being honest. So I'd rather you try mine before you taste whatever amazing thing Bertolt made, since mine'll likely be much worse in comparison. You shouldn't undersell yourself like that, Marco, the tallest male mumbled, cheeks now tinted from flattery. Thanks, though. You went along with his request and took a sizable swig of the drink. It had a balanced combination of fruits, natural and tart. Not to mention it was just the right temperature. The yogurt cooled it just enough to be refreshing, without the iciness chilling your bones this time of year. Bert's right, you said. There's nothing wrong with it. You should be proud. Why, thank you, Alpha. I'm glad you like it. Next you looked between the two remaining entrees, noticing that the crepes looked far too enticing to deny any longer. Just one bite was like an explosion in your mouth. The acerbity of the blueberries and vanilla's sweetness were a perfect marriage, and the texture of the custard flowed over your taste buds like a damn river, and the dust of powdered sugar on top gave it the last little boost it needed. Holy crap, that's fantastic! Forgetting your etiquette, you shoveled in an oversized bite and savored it. I guess that means you win, Bertolt. Marco clapped him lightly on the back to congratulate, and Armin's posture sunk slightly. He knew his victory would be short-lived. He'd never outbaked Bertolt in his life. Win? Was it a competition or something? You inquired, already knowing full well that it was. Yeah, it was Armin's idea. Marco gave him credit. Or called him out. Armin wasn't sure which. An Omega with a competitive streak. How interesting. You jerked your eyebrows at him playfully, and he became flustered. Well, I wouldn't go as far as to say that. I just wanted you to have enough options. It's our job as hosts, you know. He trailed off, and it was when you took another bite of potatoes that you noticed you were the only one partaking. You eyeballed the Omegas. Aren't you all hungry? We can eat as it pleases you, Alpha. Bertolt replied. Shit, I didn't know they were waiting on me. No one had informed you of the conventions for Omega houses like this, so you had no idea. I'm so sorry. Please have some. You gestured in front of you, and they hesitated. What's wrong? Do you not want to share with me? You wouldn't lie. That actually hurt your feelings greatly. Armin seemed to catch on to this, and stepped forward. No, that's not it. It's just... That's yours. We don't want to take any from you. Do you really think I can eat this much? You asked in a rhetorical manner, but the three of them just blinked at you cluelessly. Oh, so that's how it is. There was just a miscommunication here. It was quite clear they knew nothing about your enhanced hearing or night vision, so it made sense that their schooling probably dished them a blanket statement that alphas eat more than omegas. Based on your dinners with Hanji and Moblit, you concluded that statement was probably true, but you were unsure as to the extent of the difference. It must have been the same for them. They didn't know how much alphas eat, so they brought you excess just in case. Come sit with me, you ordered, patting the bed. They exchanged glances at each other, non-verbally trying to ask whom you were addressing. We can all fit. Come on. One by one, they deftly clambered onto the duvet with you, sitting back on their knees with Marco in the middle. Dig in. Who's hungry? The three still acted restrained, as if perched in a standoff. None of them wanted to be the first. Taking off an alpha's plate was an offense unheard of. Omegas have probably lost digits for pulling a defiant stunt like that. Feeling a rush of bravado, Armin scooted forward and opened his mouth, waiting to be fed. You smiled and happily sliced him off a bite of the French toast. That's the spirit, Armin! Marco's eyes sparkled. Me next, Alpha! Sure. You scooped some up for him, and he hummed in satisfaction, lifting his chin. I'm living the life of a king right now! You laughed at that before turning to Bertolt. You deserve to have some of your masterpiece too, Bertie. He blushed and averted your eyes bashfully after you fed him. It was clear he was the shyest among them, which you liked. It would be all that much more fun to bring him out of his shell. He was also the first to thank you for sharing. Thank you, Alpha. No, thank you for the food. All of you did such a wonderful job. I wish I could repay you somehow. The three of you continued to nibble and feed each other for a few more minutes, before a knock on your already open door caught your attention. Good morning, miss. The house matron entered, giving the omegas on your bed a very curious expression. Morning. I trust you slept well? Yes, this room is quite comfortable. Thank you. That's good to hear. Is now a good time to discuss business? Or would you rather wait? Sure, now is fine. You slowly slid around the wooden serving tray, careful not to knock into it. I see the omegas made you breakfast. Have they been behaving themselves? She asked, half joking, half stern. Oh, yes, they're a delight, each one. You truly meant that from the bottom of your heart, too, which you realized as you said it. Wonderful. Then I won't keep you from them for too long. We can keep it brief. Sounds good to me. You followed her to the door and turned. Be back soon, darlings. I'll miss you all dearly in the meantime. They all smiled giddily in return. Marco laughed jovially. Likewise, Alpha. Oop, almost forgot. You ran back to the table to grab the coffee cup, and Armin felt a swell of pride. He wondered if this was how alphas felt all the time, as it would explain why they were so confident all the time, how they wore it on their skin. It wasn't until now, in the presence of the sobering beta, that you became cognizant of just how out of character you were acting. You were never this sappy. Omegas were powerful, apparently, but it just felt so right to dote on them. You wanted to do it all the time. Maybe you would open an Omega house, have armies of them to coddle and comfort and protect and spoil. But then you realized you wouldn't have the heart to part with any of them. This train of thought ended when the two of you reached the house mother's office. To be continued.